Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Just giving people a few moments to jump on with us. Just a moment. Good morning, beautiful people. How are you? Hope everybody is doing amazing. Amazing. All right. Well, we've given people a few minutes to join us. I'm going to wave at a few people over on Instagram. So, how is everybody? Let me know in the comments. Remember, y'all, this is a dialogue, not a monologue. I'll start. I'm doing great. Had a little technical difficulty. Was trying to log in and it kept telling me that I had no internet connection. And y'all know on some of these streaming services, different platforms have time frames of when you can start. For instance, I think on Facebook you can't start like 5 minutes late. On LinkedIn you can't. Thank you, Coach Key. Coach Key says she's loving my wash and go, my shrunken wash and go. I love it too. Um, but on LinkedIn, I think you can't change the timing or something like that. Just so many limitations. So I was a little bit of afraid that I wasn't going to be able to log on and I already had everything set up. So, God worked everything out. Hey, it's Robin. How are you? Thank you so much. Sweet, gentle gift, afterglow, skincare. We're on here. I'm not sure if they're still here over on Instagram. So before we get started, let me introduce myself because everybody don't know me. I'm Coach Tracey. I am a Black liberation and trauma healing coach for highly inspired Black women. And when I say highly inspired, I mean those women who are ready to kick everything to the curb that's been holding them down and they're ready to do the work, whatever that may entail, no matter how uncomfortable it is, no matter how hard it is. That is who I want to work with. So that could be a stay-at-home mom. It could be a stay-at-home working mom. It could be a corporate executive, whoever, as long as you're inspired, ready to do the work, and showing up and going to do the work. And what do? I coach one-on-one or group coaching with these clients to help them to take what's going on in their world, whether it's they're suffering with what they believe to be imposter syndrome, perfectionism, having difficult times with maintaining relationships, whether that's romantic or platonic, and helping them to dig deep, go up under the soil, if you will. We forget about the external for a little bit and go internal to understand what has transpired in their life so that we can understand what's going on now, because you cannot figure out what is going on now until you go backwards. So I have a hybrid coaching, if you will, because we do a good bit of talk to understand. And actually, the client does the talking. I do the listening and the questioning because they already have the answers. So that's a little bit about me. Hey, Christina, thank you for joining me. Hey, Plant Joy, thank you for joining me. I know your name starts with a D, but I don't want to butcher it. So if you want to drop it in the comments, that'll be great. Today's tea sponsor is UrBlends by KP. You guys, she has been absolutely amazing. And let me show you her packaging because it's amazing. It's amazing. This is her packaging. Look at that. The Daydream. You can actually see the loose tea. You can see the lemongrass. You can see the licorice. You can see all of the things. All natural ingredients, Black owned. She is out of Lansing, Michigan. And I am loving the Daydream tea. But today I am drinking her hot toddy loose tea blend. Look at that, y'all. Cinnamon, orange peel, clove, Saigon cinnamon. Y'all know the Saigon cinnamon is like the bomb, 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 biggity bomb, bomb, bomb. She ain't playing. All right. She ain't playing. Y'all, please go check her out. Purchase from her. You guys know all of my tea talks are sponsored by Black-owned businesses that are run by Black women. That's how we roll over here because I work with Black women. Makes sense, right? And I wanted to find a way to also give back while I'm also supporting and holding sacred safe space for my clients. So this is a way for me to do it, but it's also a way for you to do it as well by making sure you go and purchase their teas. And holiday season is right around the corner, right? This is a great time to make some purchases or prepare to make some purchases. And what better way to surprise someone for the holidays with something that they can use throughout the year. Hold on just a second. I'm going to put this down. Oh, and I forgot to say, she sent me this beautiful tea brewer as well. It's one that you push like a pen. I won't open it now because it has the tea leaves in there. So, but isn't it gorgeous? Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Okay, that's done. So definitely check out UrBlends. I'm going to make sure that I put her information. Yes. I'm going to pin it over in Instagram, and it should be all over the information that I typed in over on YouTube and LinkedIn. So, but just in case, I'm going to type it in now. There we go. Oops, y'all. Why do they have, I've never understood this. Why do they have delete first instead of pin? I guess maybe they were trying to do it because it's alphabetical. So, and I'm drinking out my Love Yourself mug. So let's get into today's tea talk. Tea talk today is about seasonal affective disorder, the change in time, and how it can trigger trauma. Let's talk about what seasonal affective disorder is first. Seasonal affective disorder, commonly heard as SAD, is not the same as the winter blues. We all can get the winter blues, especially if you don't like the cool temperatures of winter, right? So we can all have a little sadness when winter comes because we really miss the warmth of spring and summer and the beauty of fall. It's a little bit different when you have SAD, because with SAD, what's happening is that your body is producing too much melasonites, which produces melatonin. Okay, so our body is producing too much melatonin, and we usually have a deficit in vitamin D. One, because we're not getting outside as much. Many of us aren't getting outside as much because of the cooler temperatures. Also, we're losing daylight because we've flipped from daylight savings times to back to the normal standard Eastern Standard Time. And so our daylight hours are shortened and we have longer nighttime hours. The beauty of it is that we start the day in the daylight, but we end work in it's dark. So that's one of them. The other thing is that it's hard to regulate the serotonin neurotransmitter for some people at this time of year. So that's seasonal affective disorder. Now, how does that show up? Many of us get very lethargic. We lose interest in a lot of the things that we normally did, such as going for our walks no longer have an appeal to us because it's cold. But not only that, because of the other physiological things and biological things that are going on in our bodies, right? And also the emotional things that are showing up. Some of us have a difficult time sleeping. There are a number of different symptoms. Let me see. I did write some down. Let me just make sure I look through to make sure of what some of them are, because some people need to know. The other thing is your energy level. I said you're lethargic, but your energy level is a lot lower as well. So those are some symptoms. But if you are thinking that you are dealing with seasonal affective disorder, please speak to a physician or someone, because it is a form of depression. Okay. Anything that's messing with your neurotransmitters needs to be investigated, checked out by someone who has some medical skills. So caveat is I am not a doctor. I'm not giving information. I'm just sharing information that if you Google, you can find it as well. Or if you experienced it, you already know about it. So seasonal affective disorder and the change in time can be very triggering for some people because, again, we don't have as much time to spend outdoors in the daylight, especially if you are working. I know for me, I used to hate when the time changed because I would go into work and I'd have the beautiful sunlight, beating down on me and warming me up. But as soon as I walked out of the door at 5 o'clock, it was basically dark. So I'm driving home in the dark. So you don't get a chance when you get home from work to really spend that time out in nature, which we all need that time in nature so that we can be grounded, so that we can become stable, so that we can connect with other energy, because we're all energy, right? So when we lose this, and I hate to say we lose the hour, because what we do is we just fall back, we change the hour. We don't gain an extra hour either. We only still have 24 hours in a day. I hate when they say you gain an extra hour of sleep. No, you go to sleep the same time. It's just that the hours, we move the time. I hate either you can't get an extra hour. If we knew how to get an extra hour, all of us would be adding hours to our time, because that's just how humans be. That's what we do, right? Y'all, this tea is so good. I'm gonna tell you what this tea makes me think of. This tea makes me think of sitting around the fire pit, just hanging out with your friends. It just has this feeling of calm and coziness and just yum, yum, yum. And I can taste the cinnamon. I mean, like, I can taste the cinnamon. What else is in it? Um, I can also taste the clove. It's a light clove, but it's really good. Hey, everybody that's joined me over on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn. So here's the thing. When you are already have a deficit in vitamin D, your neurotransmitters are dysregulated, they're not firing properly, and that overproduction of melatonin, your body is on like an overload. It doesn't know what to do. And to lose that hour of time, you have to not only adjust mentally, you have to adjust physically. And remember, one of the symptoms of SAD is you already have sleeping issues. So having to adjust, the body has these circadian rhythms, right? And your body having to adjust to that can be triggering for some people. And what it does, how does it trigger trauma? Well, one, it triggers trauma because you could be thinking about events that happened during this time of the year, but it also can trigger trauma because you're anxious. You're anxious and you're depressed at the same time, which is a hard thing. It's crazy because you're anxious about trying to fall asleep. You're anxious about how are you going to be able to show up over these next few months? How are you going to be able to adequately take care of yourself through these next 4 or so months of surviving not only a pandemic, but also the physiological and biological changes that are showing up in your body. So that's another way that it can trigger trauma. For many people, it goes a little deeper than that. And I mentioned that before when I said that it could actually bring up and tap into a traumatic experience that you've experienced during this time of the year. And so that's why your seasonal affective disorder, SAD, is exacerbated because we are combining two things that are both a little bit difficult and challenging to deal with. So I'm going to share some things that I share with my clients. The first thing is therapy and coaching. Those two things, if you can afford to do those, if you have the beauty of having insurance that pays for that. Insurance does not pay for coaching, but if you have flexible spending account, it may pay for it. I don't know. I would search that. And the reason why is because you want to be in connection with someone who can help monitor what is going on physiologically, emotionally, and mentally. Okay. And having someone to talk to, and also having someone who will give you some practical tips, tools, and resources that you can do yourself, not just journaling, not just, and journaling is great. Y'all know I love me some journaling and self-inquiry, right? But when you're dealing with SAD, which is again a form of depression, you need a little bit more than that. So definitely. Oh, it's Robin. She said she's on Instagram. She says this might explain what I'm going through right now. Yes, definitely sit down and do a little bit of a time span, if you will. Write down when this started. You started feeling these particular symptoms, how you started seeing the transformation happen, and also ask yourself some pointed questions about what may have transpired around this time in your life, if anything. Sometimes nothing has transpired. Sometimes it's simply the physiological changes that are happening in your body. Okay, but it could be something different. All right. And it could be related to something that is deeply rooted inside you, that's hidden, that's been covered up for such a long, long, long time that you don't even recognize it. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I have an aunt whose birthday is this month. It's actually next week. And right before her birthday is her son's birthday. And he gets a little bit, a little sad, because he was the only child, and it's his mom's birthday, and she's been gone for quite some time. She's been gone over 20 years now, and she was amazing, my Aunt Geraldine. And I also sometimes get just a little bit sad. That's normal. For me, I get a little bit sad because I feel guilty that I wasn't there when she passed. I was trying to get there, but I lived in Georgia and she was in South Carolina. And of course, nobody knows the day or the time, right? And I got the call that she had passed when I was trying to get there. Um, I was planning to go that weekend and she passed. So there's that part. That could be traumatic for me. I've worked through that because I know there's nothing I could have done, but there's still that sadness because she was one of my favorite aunts. I'm going to be honest. She was my favorite aunt. She was my favorite aunt. She was like my mother when my mother wasn't around. When she was the sweetest soul. I miss her dearly. But some people, with my cousin, he really gets in a real funk. Now, he doesn't have sad, but if he did have sad, I could see how this could be triggering for him and how it could be exacerbated because he already is dealing with the physiological changes of not having enough or not being able to regulate the serotonin. Sometimes it's not that you don't have enough, sometimes you have too much. So not being able to regulate the serotonin and so forth. And of course, being Black, we have a higher percentage of melanocytes. That's what it is, melatonin. I tried to practice this last night, but anywho, saying that word is just like a tongue twister for me. And then the vitamin D deficiency. So here's what we're going to do. If you are dealing with SAD, prepare. And if you know that you deal with SAD, these are some things that you can do before SAD comes so that you can start preparing yourself for it. And the biggest thing is diet. It's not the biggest thing, but it's one of the big things is diet. There are foods that can absolutely help you increase your serotonin. For me, I'm going to tell you, I wrote it down. Let me see if I can find my notes, Lord Jesus. Okay. Here's what it is for me. When I was going through hard times back in the early 2000s, mentally and emotionally, there were certain foods that I ate that supported my thyroid. And those were foods like broccoli and sweet potatoes and things. But here's some foods that can support your serotonin levels and help increase those levels, right? Which can improve our mood and our energy and minimize those trauma triggers, if at all possible. Mushrooms, fish. Now, I'm a plant-based vegan. Depends on what day. If I want a steak, I'm gonna eat it. But anywho, y'all know how that goes. You can get vitamin D from milk. I don't drink milk, and definitely not cow's milk. But if you do, this may help. Dark chocolate is really, really good for helping to increase the serotonin levels. I definitely eat that. Flaxseed is good. Walnuts, berries, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, all of those. And here's a good thing to know about the berries, like blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, I think raspberries. They actually help to prevent the release of cortisol, which is the stress hormone. There you go. Drop them babies in some smoothies and some oatmeal, into a fruit salad. Just eat them, whatever. Okay. That can help. Lean proteins. Again, if you are a meat eater, like salmon, lean cuts of steak, turkey, bananas. Bananas are good for a number of things. Bananas also are great for helping with sleep if you have insomnia. So those are some things that you do from the diet perspective. The other big thing, huge thing, is get outside. I say it all the time, get outside, even if it's a brisk walk, a 10-minute walk to the mailbox or just around your community. Bundle up, put on a hat, put on some gloves, put on some thick socks, whatever. And if you're walking briskly, you're not going to be as cold, but get outside, breathe in the fresh air, feel the crispness of the air on your skin. Let the sun bathe you. Okay, that's the easiest way to get your vitamin D. We have a lot of windows in our house, so sometimes we stand in front of the windows to simply allow that vitamin D to wash over us. Just stand there and just revel in it. That's another good way if you have access to it, but definitely get outside at least a couple of times a day. Okay, Plant Joy, don't forget to tell. I know your name starts with a D. Make sure you tell me. I got to look it up again because I don't want to butcher your name. That's the second thing. The third thing is keep your connections with your family and friends. Make sure you are FaceTiming, are getting on Zoom, calling, texting, making sure that you keep your appointments with your family and friends. They are a huge source of lifting up our spirits, of empowering us, of supporting us through some of the toughest things. And staying in community is one of the greatest ways to deal with the seasonal affective disorder, especially now that we have some reduced restrictions with COVID. Wear your mask. And continue to connect with people. Get out and go inside the Starbucks or the Dunkin' Donuts and be around people, be around the energy of people, good energy. We don't want that bad energy. We don't want any of that, okay? So connect with the people. Continue participating in those things that bring you interest. If you have an interest in painting, continue doing that. You can paint at home. You can buy little easels and paint supplies at the Five Below, at the Walmart, at the Target, whatever. If you have an interest in pottery, there are some places where you can go go on Groupon. I think they still have that. And purchase you some discounted tickets and go do that thing that you have an interest in. Do not stop doing the things that bring you joy. Okay. Sometimes we have to, and I hate to say the word push through because that's what we've been taught to do as Black women, but sometimes we have to really push through to save ourselves, to prevent ourselves from going down that spiral of depression that can be very hard, or that seasonal affective disorder that can be very hard sometimes to pull ourselves back out of. So if we continue doing those things, continue to invest our energy in those things that make us happy, we can hopefully maintain an equilibrium so that when those symptoms pop up, we can work through them pretty fast, and we won't stay in that downward spiral too long. The other thing, and I know a lot of people use this, is light therapy. Light therapy, you have those lights. Many people will actually use those lights in the evening. Some people use them in the daytime, but definitely in the evening, light therapy can certainly help because it helps with, I'm not sure if it really helps with vitamin D, but the light therapy has a way of supporting people with a seasonal affective disorder. So those are some of the tips. And again, if you are a trauma survivor and you're finding that you are dealing with some low energy, not being as attentive, not being as involved, really consider, one, whether it's seasonal affective disorder, The time change, of course, can be a little triggering. I know it usually takes most of us about a week or two to get our bearings after the time changes, whether we fall back or spring forward. But also really do some self-inquiry to determine whether or not something happened in your life that was traumatic. And because it could simply be a trauma response. And that is something that you can get some help with from therapy or coaching or both. All right. Not too deep, but I did want to address this because we know a lot of people are going through this, and we want to make sure that we are loving on each other and supporting each other through the season change. And also with the holidays coming, it can also be another source of discomfort for many people. So, any response, any feedback, let me know. Because y'all remember, we like conversation, we like dialogue. Okay? Can't be talking to myself all the time. Robin, please let me know if you figure out what's going on with you, and if you want someone to talk to, DM me, and I will do my best to support you in every way that I can. Because of course I'm not a therapist, I'm a coach, and I'm also not a doctor, but I can steer you if it makes sense and if I have the resources. All right. Mm, mm, mm. Y'all, this tea so good. So good. So good. So good. So good. So good. Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. Down. Oh, okay. Anyway, so that's all I got for you guys. Thanks for joining me. But I do want to leave you with two things. One, make sure you check out our sponsor, UrBlends, or by KP, pinned and posted on both all of the channels, the platforms. Second, I want to remind you that I'm hosting the 7-day clutter-free mind, body, and spirit email challenge from November 21st through the 27th. If you have not already registered, hit the link in my bio over on Instagram and get registered. It is free. And here's the thing. Why are we waiting to January 1st to change our lives? This is about going through and cleaning up some things, releasing some stuff, some people, things, patterns, thoughts, all of the beliefs. And we're going to talk about the mind, body, and spirit. And I'm also probably going to throw in a little bit about our environment, but we know how to clean up our house, right? We know how to get rid of clutter, whether we do it or not. But we're going to talk about the mind, body, and spirit, because energy, okay? And when we can clean these things up, cleaning up the environment usually comes along with that. And it's a free challenge, doesn't cost you anything, and you can save it and do it anytime. Go through it with these 7 days, and then maybe you want to do it every month. Maybe you want to do it every quarter. You already have the challenge. So jump in, get in where you fit in, invite your friends, because we want everybody to end 2021 powerfully on your terms and start 2022 creating, living the life that you want. You don't have to wait for that. Don't put your life on hold any longer. All right. So link in bio, and it will also be in the notes section over on LinkedIn and YouTube. So you can click on that link. And again, share. That's all I got for you. I love you guys. I will see you guys again next week for another Tea Talks with Coach Tracey. Haven't figured out what the topic is going to be. However, if you have something that you would like for me to talk about on Tea Talks with Coach Tracey, hit a sister up in the DMs or email me. Yeah, you know how to connect with me. All right. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your day on purpose, and continue to plant the seeds that are going to propel you forward so that you can grow, thrive, and flourish and be the woman that you've always wanted to be, the woman that you know you can be, and the woman that God has predestined you to be. All right. Last but not least, because I sent something in my stories, and I don't know if anyone in my stories on my Facebook and on my LinkedIn. I want to have a moment of silence for the little girl. Ooh, y'all, this has really bothered me. The little girl, Isabella Faith Tiktiner. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, but she's a 10-year-old little girl who was autistic in Salt Lake City, I believe it was, who committed suicide, I think, over this past weekend because she was being bullied in school. She's being bullied in school, not only by the students, but she was also being bullied by the teachers and the school district, the school administration, the principals, and so forth did nothing. Her parents did everything that they could do, but they did nothing. The school district was being under investigation by the Department of Justice also. And they had just recently settled with the Department of Justice because of the racial harassment. And you would think that they would have done more considering that they already had these charges against them. But this baby lost her life. She took her life 10 years young. She killed herself. So may she rest in peace. And let's please send some positive energy and some love to her family, her mother. I don't know if she had siblings. Yeah. All right. Let's keep her in our prayers and let's do our work, because the more we do our work to liberate our minds, the stronger we come and the more unified we become as a community, as an ethnic culture, and we can fight these powers of white toxicity, patriarchy, capitalism, ableism, racism, all the things. And maybe, just maybe, we can stop another baby from taking their life. All right. All right, ladies and gents. I love you guys. Talk to you later.